Well, the answer is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac issue bonds. Issue bonds. That is, they borrow money. That's where they get the money to buy the mortgages or to guarantee the mortgages. The Chinese government took the dollars and bought the bonds of Freddie Mae and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. How does this work? Well, over the last 20 years, Americans were taught to understand your house, I quote you now, is a cash machine. Here's how that works. You go to the bank and you say, I have this nice house, and this house is worth, $300,000. And I've either paid off the mortgage or there's only $100,000 left. So would you lend me some money on the part of my house that I own? And the bank says, because it's got the collateral of that house to cover that loan. So literally, it's like going to a cash machine. You have your house, and the bank gives you money. Where does the bank get that money? From Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And where do they get the money? From the People's Republic of China. So when an American goes and refinances my house, or takes out an equity loan, that's what these words mean, you borrow against your house, that's Chinese money. That's why I've always wanted to take a trip through the trailer parks of America and stop and talk to your average patriotic American sitting there and watching cartoons in the trailer and say, that TV you're watching, that trailer you're watching, communists gave you the money. And communists are the people you owe it to. Just see how they would think. Imagine yourself in East Alabama explaining this to the local folk. But the truth is, that's how it works.
Well, that's for the housing. What about the
equity loan you can take out for anything. An equity loan is when you go to the bank and you say, I have equity in my house, I own X% of it. Give me a loan against that. The bank gives you a loan. You're free to use it for anything you want. You buy a dishwasher, you can send your kid to college, do whatever you want. So that money that is coming that way is coming out of China. Also, the government of China bought treasury bonds, so it's giving the government a lot of money, and the government in turn makes loans to small businesses, so the money filters its way into the American economy. It doesn't really matter where it comes, because we have an integrated capital market, so the money can go everywhere once it comes in. The Chinese would have liked only to lend to the United States government because they wanted the best secure guarantee for that money. And so they did not, in general, buy bonds of private companies and stuff like that, or of states and localities. They wanted the federal government. That's also political. They know they can get those people and politically pressure them. It's a little hard for the Chinese government to have a lot of pressure on the mayor of Tuscaloosa. So, it's not a direct relationship. Although if the Chinese arrive with the proposition of putting a factory in the eastern part of Tuscaloosa, the mayor will be at their disposal. All right? One last one.
Okay. The news media always presents the Chinese keeping their currency along as somehow the Chinese government issues a decree and voila, it's the renminbi is low. But I know that I keep trying to find out the figure. I think I at one point read that China spends something like $1 billion a day to keep their currency low. Do you have any? Do you know how much they spend to keep their currency down?
Much more than $1 billion a day. They take huge amounts. $1 billion a day would be $365 billion a year. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in some years more than that. They have to maintain the currency ratio, and the way modern governments do that is they go into the market. We don't have fixed exchange rates. We did, right, until from the end of the war with Bretton Woods, the big conference at the end of World War II. A set of exchange rates were set and established, and the governments agreed. From 1946, when it went into effect, to 1971, that's a long time, we had a fixed exchange rate. You got the same number of British pounds for $1, or French francs, or Swiss francs, or Italian lira, or whatever it was for $1. The value of gold was also fixed, $42 an ounce, all the time, every day, all day. In 1971, the United States unilaterally blew up the system of fixed exchange. The President of the United States at that time, a very, very great man, Richard Nixon, went on the television, 15th of August, 1971, And he said to the people of the world, we have been on a fixed exchange system. He didn't use that language, he probably couldn't get the words out. But we've been on a fixed exchange system, we've been on a gold system. But as of tomorrow morning, I'm just announcing to all of you in the world, United States, announcing to the world, we used to give you an ounce of gold for every $42 you handed in. As of tomorrow morning, if you hand in $42, we're going to give you another $42. We're not giving you any gold anymore because we don't want to give up our gold. That was the end of the gold system. Unilateral, United States, the rest of the world, take it or leave it, drop dead, see you tomorrow. Okay? And was the end of fixed exchange. After that, the value of the dollar and the Spanish currency or the Irish currency goes up and down by the minute, depending on the buying and selling of the currency. How many people with dollars want to exchange them for lira? How many people with lira want to exchange them for something else? So the dollar fluctuates, called the system of fluctuating exchange rates. What every government does is get in there to make sure that the value of their currency is up or down by either buying it, if they want the price of their currency to go up, or dumping it, if they want their currency to go down. The Chinese do that. If they're threatened with the value of the Chinese currency going up, what they do is they dump the Chinese currency. They neutralize all the people who want to buy the currency. For example, millions of foreign companies that want to go in and set up business in China, buying land in China. In fact, they all buy currency to be able to do all those things. So the demand for the Chinese currency goes up. That might drive up the price. No, says the government. We're going to dump. We're going to use renminbi to buy all the other currencies of the world, and that neutralizes the effect. So all government, the United States government, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York is the official agent of the United States government to manipulate the currency. They don't say that, but that's what they do. No, but if you study it, it's very clear that they don't hide that. And the general public is not given this information. But if you study it, it's all there. That's their job. And the name of the game is you denounce other countries for interfering when they make the currency what you don't want. And you announce that what you want is what would be the case if everybody played fair. And everybody says that, and it's equally true. Namely, it's bullshit. But it's the bullshit that the New York Times faithfully writes in the story so that those people who read the New York Times, all 11, can live in the happy world in which everything is fair and reasonable. If you think the world economy is an organized, orderly system, you haven't been paying attention. It is chaos. And now, it's normally chaos, but now it's chaos going down fast. Everything Mr. Bush could do in the last 2 years of his presidency, he had all the best advisors to make sure that he would not go out as the president of a collapsed capitalism. He had every economist you can think of working for him. They couldn't see it coming, they couldn't manage it when it happened. Mr. Obama walked into the White House as the great, I was about to say great white hero, which isn't, great black hero, waltzes in with immense goodwill, the savior of the country, hope, change, and he had all great economists. We knew they were great because they were the same ones that Bush had. He had them all around it, and he knew what he needed to do as a new black president, hard for Americans to come to terms with, was to do something about this economy. He tried every way to do it. He can't. He can't. Under the constraints he operates, he can't. We have the worst unemployment. It's gotten worse over his presidency. And he now stands to get, if the polls are correct, really badly whacked in the next elections next month. And that'll hurt him. It'll make it harder for Obama to do whatever it is he might have hoped to do in the second half of his administration. His biggest problem will be figuring out how to get reelected, et cetera, et cetera. This is not a situation that's manageable. This is a situation in which you do something and you cross your fingers behind your back because you don't want people to realize that's what you're doing. And you hope like hell that crossed fingers make a difference. They don't, turns out. But it's the best you got. This is an economy in a kind of free fall, surrounded by other countries that are also in a free fall, and the pressure, the political pressure from below is building. In Europe, it's obvious, but the Tea Parties is the beginning of pressure building here too. You know, we may laugh at, what's her name, O'Donnell in Delaware, or Sharon Engel out west, but it tells you something about a society that produces people like that and gets as many votes as they were able to get with all the caveats. That's who's running for office in this country, you know? I get asked on television, the most frequent question the last 4 months, I get asked on television, is Obama a socialist? I mean, that's crazy, right? That's nuts. He's not a socialist, never said he was a socialist, never done anything that a socialist would. What? But I have to answer because in this country, people are so upset that this is an effective way. And we have Mr. Palladino. Oh, what do you do? What do you say? There it is.
He's a socialist.
He's a socialist. He's against homosexuality, and I believe Ms. O'Donnell is against masturbation. So both of them are presumably going to pass laws, so none of you can do that ever. At least not in Delaware. You have to do it. You have to do it. Get out of Delaware. Quick. Thank you very much. I will hopefully see you on the 9th of November.